Hey guys, Aaron here again with the 2002 BMW 330 Ci convertible that we are giving away July 31st of 2022. So if you're watching this video and that time has not expired, check out this link, go sign up to win this car, no purchase necessary. I will be giving it away free on the channel. Today we're gonna be doing a little work on it. It is brought to you by my sponsor, Reassembly. They're the ones that are helping me give this thing away. So when it showed up, it had a really bad squeal in the engine compartment, so let you listen to that. Yeah, pretty bad, I know. So that's what we're gonna fix today. Apparently this is a common problem with these cars. We're gonna replace the belt and some pulleys in there, and hopefully that's gonna take care of it. So let's get started right now. All right, coming under the engine bay, first thing we're gonna do is remove this plastic piece. It's feeding air into the air filter housing here. So there are 3 of these little plastic clips that we have to remove. I'm just going to use a little trim tool. So just got to get the tip of that thing started, and then it pulls out. If you've never seen these things before, once you push that plunger down, it spreads the teeth out underneath it to grip in there. So just remove these 3. All right, with those removed, this thing should just lift up and slide out of here. All right, so the belt and stuff we're gonna replace is way down in here. So to help us better access that, we're gonna raise the car up and take a panel off from underneath. So it's just this first panel here we're gonna remove. Mine is missing a bunch of screws, and all the ones it has on it are Phillips. So remove those, take this panel off. All right, with this panel off, you can see all of the pulleys and belts really easily down here. Okay, now that that's out of the way, we're gonna move on to the airbox and get this thing out of the way. So it's got some just little clips to undo and release around the side. And then behind this guy, we got another little clip that we can undo, one on each side. My hand in there. All right, one end out, use a screwdriver. Get that clip off. I can just separate this directly from the airbox here. All right, and then one more clip down here. I'm gonna reach in here with some kind of tool to lift up on that. There we go. Lift up on that. And with those disconnected, you can get this out of the way. Good time to change the air filter. All right, this hose should be attached here, so just lift that off, drop it down, and then we got 2 10mm bolts to remove. These out of here. Make sure you don't lose these little grommets. Now this thing slides forward. You can see there's this big long bar here. It's not connected to anything. It's just a pressure fit in there. So you just have to pull it back, out. And so this little thing is hooked up under there. Look at that, we have a lot more room already. Okay, next we are going to remove the fan and the fan shroud. So to start this process, there's another one of these little pins that we're gonna pop out. And on this side, it is a T25 bolt. Come here. This guy is a little stubborn. All right, he just needs a little persuasion. Got him. And just unscrew this guy with a T25. Guy's pretty long. Now 2 electrical connections to remove. You don't actually have to take it off from there. You can pull it to the left a little bit and then tilt it up and then push it back in. And maybe it's even easier to do this when it's still plugged in. And this will come off like that. So it's just these little tabs are coming out from over there, and these tabs are coming out from right there. Leave him out of the way. All right, so this guy just has 2 tabs, one on either side, and you can pull it up. And it's actually still connected on the bottom. I'm just gonna feed the cable out the bottom hole in this cable. It's just tucked in here into the fan shroud. So I can untuck it. And this little guy you can lift up and slide the wires out through there. All right, the next step is we're gonna take this fan off and the shroud, but to get the fan off, you have to unbolt it. You can see the bolt right there in the middle of the screen. And as you can see, the fan turns. So you can't just turn the bolt. You have to kind of lock that in position so that you can turn that nut and loosen it. And you need a special tool to lock onto those and to hold the whole assembly in place so you can actually torque the fan. So I just got this from eBay. I'll put a link in the description. It's supposed to be the special tool to do that. So let me open this up. All right, the kit comes with these 2 pieces. One of them, I believe it's 32 millimeter. It's a big, skinny wrench essentially, so that it can fit down here and get onto the nut of our fan. And then this is the one that goes over those bolts. This hooks over the bolts so you can hold it in place and use 2 hands to loosen it. All right, this next step is easier to see from below, I think. I just gave it one attempt to start trying it, and maybe it's gonna work from down here. I don't know yet. But you can see that's the nut that we have to loosen, and there are bolts all around it. There are 4 bolts, so one of the tools hooks onto the bolts and the other tool can turn the nut. So you're gonna turn the nut. If you're standing in front of the car, you're gonna turn it clockwise. It's reverse threaded. So you're gonna turn it to the right. So I'm gonna try to hold the nuts. If I put the spanner on that goes on the nuts first, and then I put the other one that goes on the big nut, then it kind of locks the bottom one into place. And so I'm gonna give that a shot. All right, I have this thing off, but I just want to show you what you're going to be doing with these wrenches. So I don't think this is the right thing to do with the wrenches. I thought it would be able to line up 2 of these nuts on here and hold them, but I could not because crap is in the way and you can't get flush with it. So what I had to do was just grab one of them with the bottom end. So you see, if you grab one nut from the bottom end, then the middle of this will sit here. And if I push on it, it has enough grip to turn this some, which is not ideal. So this is a really cheap tool that luckily I got it to work once. But so what I had it, so I got it on the bottom one there, and then I have this here, and so I was able to pull, because you're gonna wanna pull this one counterclockwise while you're pulling the main wrench clockwise. So that's the deal. So when I'm putting it back on, I'm gonna have to turn it around, grab one on this side to put torque on it this way, while I take the other wrench and go that way. All right, this is the one that has the holes in it. So we're gonna go grab one of the nuts. All right, that's over one. Now for the wrench. I have to pull them apart from each other. Try to get like a breaker bar to get a better grip on this. Getting complicated. All right, got them in place from the top. All right, I think I got it. As soon as you get it loose, you should just be able to hand spin it off. Yeah. All right, it's coming off. Now, don't drop it all the way down into the radiator. Be ready to catch it. Now that it's coming off pretty easy, I'm holding onto the blades as I'm turning it, so hopefully I don't drop it. Okay. I'll just pull them both out at the same time. Now look at all that access we have down there. So easy to see and work with. So let's see, I will take off. I'm gonna take off this belt first because it is covering this belt. So this tensioner right down here just has a little plastic cap. I'm gonna use a screwdriver and pop that off. So screwdriver, plastic cap, and this I think is a T20, let me see what that is. So this thing is a T50, big old torque spit. I'm gonna get that started, and then I'm gonna turn it clockwise or push it down from where I am right here, and that loosens it. We can pull the belt off. And you can release the tensioner and it'll come all the way up. And one belt down. And here is our second tensioner. Same thing, got a little plastic cap. Pop it off with the screwdriver, and same thing with another T50. All right, with a really long extension, I can release the tension and slip this belt off. This belt actually looks like it's in really good shape, so I will leave it for the new owner of the car in case they need to replace it eventually one day. So with the belts off, I can go ahead and spin everything and kind of wiggle it back and forth, make sure that everything feels like it's nice and tight and not loose. But this tensioner, I mean, you can just hear that. So yeah, that bearing is shot. So this is the source of our squeak and will be replaced. All right, this idler pulley also super hard to turn. So probably in conjunction, another cause of the noise. All right, so I believe this idler pulley also has a cap. Yeah. Knock that off, and I hear that this is a 16mm bolt, so we're gonna remove that. All right, so I'm gonna keep this big one to get me a lot of leverage. All right, this thing was tough to get started. I'll just get it all the rest of the way out. So, big long bolt. Oh yeah. That does not look too healthy. All right, now we can take this tensioner pulley off, and so it is the same T50, but now we are gonna turn it counterclockwise to loosen it up. All right, once you get it loose, switch back over to the power tools. All right, so we got a bolt and a pulley. Yeah, listen, you can hear this when I shake it. All right, so we got a whole new idler tensioner in this box. So even though we removed the pulley on this thing, we can just install it all as one piece. So as you can see, there are two bolts holding this on that we're gonna have to remove. And the kit actually comes with those two bolts to replace new ones. So I'm just gonna take the first one, the top one off first. They are 13 millimeters. All right, there is number 1. And right on the bottom is number 2. And once this bolt comes out, this whole assembly is gonna come out with it. So here's the old part next to the new one. As you can see, it was time to go. Here's our old bolts. All right, gonna toss those parts. I'm gonna go ahead and save this one. You never know when that might come in handy. All right, now this entire assembly is gonna be replaced too. Let me show you. Here is the new one of those, and it comes with a little pin in it that is holding the tension into this thing. So once it's installed, we're gonna remove the pin and it'll release that tension, or create the tension on the belt. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the other one. I think I'm just gonna remove this guy just so I can save that bolt that's holding him in there, because it's a lot easier to take that out if you want to remove this piece while it's still attached to the car. But of course, optional. You can just replace this thing. It's the same thing, just 2 bolts. Stick this thing back in, 2 more bolts. Now it's definitely doable to remove this one from the top. It's just, since I have it on the lift and it's just as easy to lift it up, I'm gonna do it from down here, and that way I can show you the 2 bolts. So one there and then one up here. So these are also 13 millimeters. So just remove these 2. And I just discovered the reason that they put that pin in there and leave it in this position for you is because this thing, without the pin, this thing comes over here and kind of blocks that bolt hole. So it's a lot easier to get your bolt in with it there. So you can still get behind it. This just makes it a lot easier. So if you do want to remove that bolt, I just put it back in. You're gonna wanna leave this one in, bend this out of the way, remove the top bolt, then remove this bolt, then remove the bottom one. But I think I'm just probably gonna leave that in now, and I'll show you how to remove the top one. So as you can see, if you tighten this, then you're gonna have access to the top one. So let me try to do this with 2 hands. Move this one here, get up to the bolt. So let me try to get this handle out of the way. Bend this down. And then, oh, actually that's where the pin went in the other one. So I'm gonna grab a pin, stick it right in there. So any sort of little hex key or pin or whatever you have should work like that. Oh yeah, look at those smart BMW engineers. And now, try to locate that bolt. Need a little extension. All right, now with a little extension, try to locate that bolt. Right. There we go. That was nice and easy, and this thing is disgusting. All right, hindsight being what it is, I should have used something that I could just throw away to stick in there, but you know, I can always grab it and yank it really hard from a distance. I guess that's what I'll do, I don't know. But the 2 bolts that came in here, I did not get new ones of those with the kit, so I'll be reusing these bolts. They look like the same as the upper one, so you can take your 2 best ones and reuse them. So here's our new one. Super simple to install. Put our 2 bolts back in. All right, torque on these is 16 foot-pounds, and that is 21.7 Newton meters. Now just taking our new top tensioner, installing that. I'm gonna try to put the top bolt in first. Sounds easier to line up, I think. All right, yeah, now I started by hand. All right, these also go to 16 foot-pounds. All right, I'm taking the old bolt from our old pulley and we're putting this one back on. You see right there where that arrow is, there's a little notch in there. And that lines up with this little bump right here. So you have to make sure that that bump is in the notch before you bolt it into place there. All right, I couldn't find a torque spec for this one, but the closest people were guessing was 40 Newton meters, and that's about 30 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna see what that feels like. I know this thing was on there tight. All right, yep, that feels about right. All right, here is the new belt we got. I'm gonna go ahead and install the big one first, with the small ones slightly overlapping in front of it. So we'll put this on. All right, here's a diagram of how this goes on, but I just wanna show you how I have it started here. So I just have it all around with that belt loose right here. So in order to get it on, I'm gonna have to put my wrench through this belt here and into the tensioner. So I'm just gonna pop it off of the water pump right here to give me a little more space so that I can have that go over the hole. I'm gonna put my wrench in there and I'm gonna pull down on it, and then I'm gonna put this part on and put the part on the water pump. So that's the goal. All right, so that went very smoothly. You do have to extend it all the way really tight and let it go. And go ahead and check all of those ribs and make sure you didn't do anything like that. So loosen it back up and make sure all of the ribs are in the little grooves of all of these pulleys. Much better. That's how it should look. All right, so we're all done up top. I can pop the little cap back on here. All right, here is belt number 2. Obviously much smaller and easier. All right, so since our tensioner is already tensioned or untensioned, you can just slide the belt on in this orientation. I'm gonna pop the cap off, and I'm going to pull back a little more of the tension, pull the pin out, and release it so it keeps tension on our belt. The hard part is done, guys. Congratulate yourself. A little pat on the back. Take a little break. Just removing the fan and fan shroud now. So at the bottom, you got a few little posts, and they are gonna line up down here in the holes. So just like we removed them together, I'm gonna put them back together, slide them down here, keep them up against the radiator without damaging the radiator. Make sure that those holes line up in there, and then you can just start threading the fan back on by hand. And remember, it is reverse threaded, so counterclockwise will tighten it. Alright, so it is threaded back on there. Now I'm going to reattach the shroud. T25 back in here. And a pin in this side. Okay, now it's time to tighten the fan on using our special tools from before. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, kind of described how to do that. So this time we're going to tighten it, but you don't have to get it super tight because the fan is going to be spinning in the direction to tighten itself. And if you need to readjust the bolts down there to get a better grip, you can just turn here. There we go. Got them. All right, now we just have to put our little electrical connector back in place. All right, snap that back together. All right, now we grab our module back, and this time we push the front corner in, hold it down, and pull it back out, and then lock it into place. All right, fun with the airbox. Time to get him back in. So we're just gonna stick him down here. Let it hook under all of this stuff like it was before. I forgot I had the bolts sitting on there, so I just dropped them. Great. Ah, got lucky. He was right there. All right, make sure you don't have your bolts on here. Push him back down into place. These two bolts back on. All right, gonna stick the airbox back on here. Make sure that's nice and seated. Put on all of the clips. All right, make sure this is seated. And put our springs back on. And finally, we will put this guy back on. If these don't go down, I just like to use the end of a screwdriver or something. Knock them in. Now's the time I look around, make sure there aren't any leftover parts, and let's start this thing and see if it fixed our problem. Oh my God, that's so much better. All right, guys, that is another success. And don't forget to register to win this car. I'm giving it away July 31st. We're gonna have a drawing, no purchase necessary. Check out the link in the description on how to win it and sign up. And thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next video.